Good morning, my name is Monica Bradley and I am the practice representative at Academy Injury and Health. I want to talk to you today about a class that I believe will make a huge difference in the enjoyment of your life and the lives of your entire family. I want to talk to you about how you can stay young for the first 100 years. Now I know what some of you are probably thinking. You're thinking, wait a second, the title sounds catchy, but do I really need to know how to stay young for 100 years? It sounds a little ambitious and really far-fetched. Well, it's really not. You need to start thinking about what it means for you and your entire family to stay young for 100 years. Let's look at some of the stats. In 1900, the average lifespan was only 49 years old. Now, this is because people were dying when they were very young. We didn't provide the same medical attention that we do today, and we didn't have the same kind of cures. But that's the point. Everyone's chances of living a long life were a lot less back then. Scientists from the University of Texas reported on the Today Show in April of 2006 that by the year 2050, over 800,000 Americans will be living to be 100 years old, and many will be living until they're 150. So what does this mean? It means that your kids need to start worrying more about what it takes to stay young for the first 100 years than they need to wonder how they're going to spend their inheritance, because chances are you're going to be living so long that they themselves may be retired by the time they can get their hands on that inheritance, assuming there is one. So this is a topic you and your family need to know about. If we're going to be living on this earth for 100 years, we don't merely want to exist. We want to be able to live and work and play. We want to live quality lives. We're still on this page. So now, we have a huge group of baby boomers entering into the over 50 stage of their life. And we can see in large numbers what the effects of living a long life can be. Long life is revealing that we're going to have some major areas of health concern over the age of 50 if we don't do something before the age of 50 about these problems. So we haven't seen this before because we haven't had so many people reaching such a ripe old age. So for example, we are now continuously faced with diseases such as Alzheimer's. And Alzheimer's isn't a new disease. It has been around forever, but we're seeing a lot more of it now because dementia isn't onset in a person until around the age of 70, maybe a little bit older. So now that we realize the chances of our lives reaching such a great age are increasing, we need to take some precautions to make sure that our minds are still functioning when we get to that age. So the biggest problem that we're facing in people over the age of 50 are musculoskeletal problems. Okay. So we're going to move on to the next slide. The most common cause of functional disabilities in people over the age of 50 are spinal disorders. So raising of hands, how many people in this room think that they're going to live past the age of 50? And how many of you think that your family members are going to live to be over the age of 50? So let's look at an example. If I could tell you that someone was going to break into your house and steal all of your possessions, and I could tell you exactly when they were going to do it and how they were going to do it, would you not do something about it to stop it, or would you just let it happen? Well, I can tell you today that I know what is going to rob you of your mobility, and I know exactly when it's going to happen. So are you going to do something about it now, or are you going to do nothing? Of course not. Let's do something to prevent it. I think we could all agree that if we could stop someone from breaking into our house and stealing all of our possessions, we would, just like we should stop our mobility from being robbed from us. So think about it this way. If you lose your mobility when you are 40, and if we lose our mobility when we're 65, and we're living to be 105, that's 40 years of immobility and pain. So let's look at some areas of health that we have made improvements and adjustments in just the past few years. Tooth decay is a huge one. We used to have many more cavities and we used to have a lot more teeth falling out, but now we're taking preventative measures such as going to the dentist once a year, and now we're having less teeth falling out and our teeth are bothering us a lot less. Same thing with wrinkles. More and more people are also living with less wrinkles. That's right. There has been a 465% increase in the number of people who want to get rid of their wrinkles since 1997 alone. That's 12 million people last year alone that made adjustments to get rid of just another ramification of getting older, their wrinkles. So now for all of you that are getting older, now I'm all for you having whiter teeth and less wrinkles, but I think that we could all agree that if you have a lack of mobility, you will look older than crow's feet. And the only reason that we take care of our teeth and our wrinkles before we take care of our spine and our joints is for the simple reason that if our spine was on our face, we would take much better care of it. So you don't wait for your teeth to fall out to do something about it, just like you shouldn't wait for your back to go out to do something about that either. You take preventative measures to make sure that your teeth are white, just like you should take preventative measures to make sure that you still have your mobility, because there's a huge chance that you are going to be living 30 to 40 years over the age of 50. So why is this more important than your teeth? Because there's no such thing as a spine transplant. I'm going to repeat that because it's so important. There is no such thing as a spine transplant. You can get a new set of teeth and you can replace some of your organs, but if you don't take care of the spine that you have, there's no going back like you can with your teeth. There's no crown, there's no replacement, you'll just have to live with that pain. But don't forget that this isn't limited to just back pain. People have neck pain too, and you can't get a new neck either. 1 in every 3 people suffers today from neck pain over the age of 50. So again, I ask you, how many of you want to be able to use your neck after the age of 50 without having any kind of pain? Yeah, that's a pretty big club. So if 1 in 3 people have neck pain and 85 out of 100 people have back pain, I think that's a big enough statistic for me at least to want to do something to take care of my mobility and prevent being immobile. But just in case you need a little bit more convincing, let's go ahead and see what the scale will look like if we do absolutely nothing and let nature take its course. So this is our mobility scale, and on the bottom you'll see your age, and then on the side you'll see in percentage the percentage of maximum mobility that you can have. In other words, if we take a look at the graph, you can see where the blue line peaks, which is around age 23. So at age 23, you are at maximum mobility. Now, if you look where the line drops, you can see that that's Mother Nature taking its course. So you can see that by 50 years old, you only have 50% of the mobility that you did when you were 23 years old. And I think anyone in around 50 can attest to having 50% less mobility than they did when they were 50. So if you look at the graph again, you can see that by the time you're 60, you only have 25% of the mobility that you did when you were 23. But now the big question of this revealing graph is, can the scale be changed, or are we just going to have to live with the results? So let's look again at this same graph. We already looked at this line, which was blue, and it's saying that by 60, we're only going to have 25% of mobility, and that's if we let Mother Nature take its course. But the good news is that with preventative care, we can make big improvements in the line and extend it all the way out until around the age of 80. So what this graph is saying is that on the green line, you can see where your mobility actually is at about 75% when you're 80 years old. And that's what you want for you and your family. If we're going to have to be here, we want to be here and we want to be able to move and function. So why would you not take the necessary steps in preventative care? So the question is, can the scale be changed? And yes, it can. One of the questions we get a lot is, what if we're already over the age of 50? Is it too late to start? Absolutely not. And I applaud you for being here today because it's the first step in preventative care, is to learn what you can do. So it's never too late to start. We want you to live a long life. Okay. So Brittany, that's as far as I got in the memorization of it, and I can send another video next week with the rest of it.